What if Mars was once more than a barren desert under a pale red sky? What if, long before Earth ever saw the rise of its first civilizations, Mars had already played host to ancient, thriving societies, full of life, wonder, and knowledge? Imagine for a moment, what if our history, the story of human civilization, wasn't the first story told in our solar system? What if we aren't the pioneers of intelligence in the cosmos? Could Mars have been a cradle for a great civilization before Earth even existed, leaving behind secrets buried deep in its dust, waiting to be uncovered? As you settle in, wherever you are tonight, whether it's the soft glow of your bedside lamp or the quiet stillness of a late night sky, I want you to think about one thing: the vastness of space. It's easy to imagine the stars, distant galaxies, and planets as little more than dots in the sky. But what if, just beyond the reach of our telescope lenses, there lies a deeper story? What if Mars, now cold and uninhabitable, once knew life as we understand it? Perhaps even life much more advanced than we can imagine. From your room, from wherever you're listening, let's take a step beyond the world we know. Let's take a journey to a time where Mars wasn't the dead, lifeless rock we see through our telescopes today. Instead, it was home to thriving civilizations, its surface teeming with life, art, and knowledge, long before Earth's first humans looked up to the stars. Tonight, we will delve into the mystery of Mars and explore a speculative world, one where ancient Martians might have walked, lived, and created. Stay with me as we venture through the cosmos and ask a question that challenges everything we know. What if civilizations existed on Mars before Earth? Let's open this chapter of mystery, curiosity, and wonder. Now, let's begin our journey. Starts with the planet itself. Mars, our red neighbor, so distant, so familiar, yet so unknown. Mars, a world of red dust and frozen landscapes, orbiting silently in the cold reaches of space. To the naked eye, it is a barren wasteland, its surface pocked with craters, its skies cloudless and inhospitable. From the distant Earth, Mars has always seemed like a symbol of desolation. Yet, beneath this surface lies a mystery far deeper than its lifeless appearance suggests. Could Mars have once been more? Could it have been a world not unlike our own, brimming with life, flourishing civilizations, and an unspoken history waiting to be uncovered? As we peer through the lenses of our rovers and telescopes, we see canyons stretching across its surface, towering cliffs that whisper of ancient cataclysms, and ice caps that have not melted for millions of years. Mars is frozen in time, suspended in a state of endless winter. Yet, in every photograph, in every grainy image sent back to Earth, we are reminded of a truth that scientists cannot ignore. Mars wasn't always this way. In its distant past, Mars was once a planet much like Earth, warm, with flowing rivers and vast oceans. The evidence is undeniable. Ancient riverbeds have been found, their rocky formations etched deep into the Martian soil. Fossilized minerals, remnants of water, suggest a time when the planet was covered by lakes and seas, alive with the possibility of life. What happened to this once thriving world? Why, after billions of years, did it transform into the cold, desolate desert we observe today? Theories abound. Some believe it was a cataclysmic event, perhaps a massive asteroid impact that changed the planet's course forever. Others suggest that Mars simply outgrew its habitability, its atmosphere unable to sustain the life that once teemed on its surface. But these explanations feel unsatisfying in the face of the countless mysteries that Mars holds within its red sands. What if, instead of just a planet in decline, Mars was a cradle for something more, a once flourishing civilization that rose and fell long before Earth's earliest ancestors even took their first breath? Could the ancient Martian surface be the remnants of an advanced society, a lost world whose stories we may never fully comprehend? For centuries, Mars has inspired our greatest scientific minds. The discovery of ancient river valleys, the unmistakable signs of erosion, and even the possibility of subsurface ice have pointed to a history of a much wetter, warmer world. With every new piece of evidence, scientists are forced to reconsider their assumptions about Mars. Could these features be markers of a civilization that once called Mars home, or are they simply the remnants of natural geological processes? This is where speculation begins to weave into the fabric of science. What if the Martian rivers weren't simply shaped by the flow of water over millennia, but by the hands of beings who understood how to harness such forces? What if the ancient canyons we see today weren't carved by wind and rain alone, but by a civilization that once thrived in the Martian atmosphere, their cities dotting the landscape, now buried beneath the sands? As we dive deeper into the story of Mars, we will consider these ideas not as wild fantasies, but as a genuine possibility, one that could forever change our understanding of the history of life in the solar system. And as we ask the question, what if Mars was once home to civilizations of its own? We must also ask, what if these civilizations left behind clues, traces of their existence, that could finally explain the true history of the red planet? Mars may be cold now, its surface scarred and lonely, but it wasn't always this way. Beneath the ice, beneath the dust, there could be secrets waiting to be uncovered. The mystery of Mars's past beckons to us, a puzzle with pieces scattered across time, waiting for us to gather them and tell the story that has been forgotten for eons. As we continue our journey through the red desert of Mars, we shift our focus to the planet's once promising atmosphere. It was not always the thin, barren shell that surrounds the planet today. There was a time, many billions of years ago, when Mars had a thicker, more robust atmosphere that could have supported liquid water on its surface. Imagine a world where oceans stretched across the land, where rain fell from thick clouds, and where the seasons changed like those on Earth. A world where the sounds of flowing rivers and rustling leaves might have filled the air. What happened to this atmosphere? Why did Mars lose what it had, leaving behind only the faintest traces of a once thriving environment? Scientists have theories, of course. Some suggest that Mars, being smaller than Earth, lacked the gravitational force to hold onto its thick atmosphere. Others point to the planet's lack of a magnetic field, critical for protecting any atmosphere from the harsh radiation of the sun. Without this protection, the Martian atmosphere slowly eroded away, carried off into space by solar winds. But there is another question that lingers, one that remains unanswered. What if the Martian atmosphere didn't just dissipate over time? What if it was deliberately altered, perhaps even destroyed, by forces beyond natural processes? Could an ancient civilization, aware of the fragility of their world, have undertaken drastic measures to preserve their existence, only to cause their own downfall in the process? Or was it something much more catastrophic, something that changed the very nature of Mars itself? Consider the possibility that the ancient Martians, whoever they may have been, had technology far beyond anything we can imagine today. What if their mastery over the elements, their understanding of planetary systems, allowed them to manipulate the atmosphere? Could they have engineered their own downfall through experimentation or hubris, leading to a catastrophic loss of resources and climate stability? If this civilization existed, might their technology and scientific prowess have reached a level where they could alter the very forces of nature? This idea, though speculative, challenges us to think beyond the limits of our current understanding of what civilizations are capable of. We often assume that advanced technology, at least the kind we know on Earth, always leads to progress. But what if the opposite is true? What if technology, when pushed too far or used recklessly, can lead to destruction? This scenario is not entirely foreign to us. We have only to look at our own history to see that civilizations, at their peak, can also be their most vulnerable. There are also the curious, unexplained features of Mars that beg further consideration. Take, for example, the face on Mars, a structure so eerily symmetrical that it defies the natural randomness of erosion. Discovered by NASA's Viking 1 spacecraft in 1976, it has sparked debate for decades. Could this face be a natural formation, shaped by the random forces of nature over time? Or is it, as some believe, the remains of a statue or monument left behind by an ancient civilization? Though mainstream science has dismissed the idea of the face being an artificial construct, The mere existence of such an enigmatic formation raises intriguing questions. What other structures might be hidden beneath the Martian surface, waiting to be discovered? Could the Martian soil, so seemingly barren, be the final resting place of cities, temples, or monuments that once held the hopes and dreams of a now forgotten people? Consider the images captured by rovers like Perseverance and Curiosity. The stunning views of Mars's surface, though beautiful, often hint at the possibility of hidden structures just below the surface. The more we learn about Mars, the more we begin to question the true nature of what we see and what we cannot yet see. Perhaps buried under layers of dust and ice, there are remnants of cities, tall, ancient structures that once rose proudly against the Martian sky. This notion isn't merely about a romantic vision of Mars. It's about the search for answers to fundamental questions about the origins of life and civilization in our solar system. Mars could be a key to understanding our place in the universe. If life once thrived on Mars, what lessons can we learn from its rise and fall? And more poignantly, could Mars be a mirror for Earth, a warning about the fragility of life on our own planet? We've only begun to scratch the surface in understanding what Mars truly was in the past. Every rover mission, every satellite scan, brings us a step closer to unraveling the mystery. As we delve deeper into this enigma, we'll continue to ask the same question. What if Mars was once home to a flourishing civilization? Could it be that the answers to this question lie just beneath the surface, waiting for us to uncover them? The speculative journey into the ancient Martian past beckons. Could we one day stand on the red planet, gazing upon the ruins of an ancient city hidden under the vast dust of ages? Or will we only be left with questions, a story unfinished, forever lingering in the shadows of the cosmos? Mars, a planet that once may have been warm, with a thick atmosphere and flowing rivers, a planet where life, as we understand it, might have flourished, but today it's a cold, barren desert. Its atmosphere is thin, about 100 times less dense than Earth, and made up mostly of carbon dioxide with almost no breathable oxygen. The air on Mars is too thin to support human life, and the temperatures are freezing, often dipping as low as 95 perfecta, 125 + at the poles. So what happened? To understand how Mars changed from a potentially habitable world to the inhospitable wasteland we see today, we need to look at its atmosphere. Once billions of years ago, Mars had a much thicker atmosphere, one that was capable of trapping heat and allowing liquid water to flow on its surface. The evidence is all around us in the form of ancient riverbeds, dried up lakes, and minerals that only form in the presence of water. This suggests that Mars was not always the desolate place it is today. In fact, it was quite the opposite. Mars, in its early years, had a warm, wet environment, possibly even with a climate similar to early Earth's. Scientists theorize that the Martian atmosphere was thick enough to support liquid water, and its magnetic field may have been strong enough to protect that atmosphere from being stripped away by solar winds. Over time, however, something changed. What happened to Mars's atmosphere is one of the greatest mysteries of planetary science, but there are a few key factors that are generally accepted. One of the leading theories is that Mars, lacking a global magnetic field, was unable to shield its atmosphere from the harsh solar wind. Without this protective shield, the solar wind, which is made up of charged particles from the sun, slowly stripped away the Martian atmosphere over billions of years. This process, known as atmospheric stripping, gradually thinned the atmosphere until it became the fragile shell it is today. The absence of a magnetic field on Mars is particularly significant. On Earth, our magnetic field plays a crucial role in protecting our atmosphere from the solar wind. It acts as a shield, deflecting charged particles and preventing them from eroding our atmosphere. Without a magnetic field, Mars was vulnerable to this onslaught, and over time, its atmosphere was worn away. But the loss of Mars's atmosphere isn't just a story of a planet losing its protective shield. It's also about what this loss meant for the planet's climate and its potential to sustain life. A thicker atmosphere is essential for maintaining a stable climate, and with the thinning atmosphere, Mars experienced dramatic changes in temperature. Without a strong greenhouse effect, caused by a thick, heat-trapping atmosphere, the planet grew colder. The warm, wet environment that could have supported life slowly became more hostile. Imagine a world where, in its early days, the air was thick, the skies were hazy with clouds, and rain fell, nourishing rivers and lakes. This was a world with potential, perhaps even the potential for life. But as the atmosphere thinned, so too did the warmth and the water. Mars, once a world of possibility, began to freeze, its surface becoming the lifeless desert we know today. But the loss of the atmosphere may not have been the only cause of Mars's decline. Another factor to consider is volcanic activity. Scientists believe that Mars experienced significant volcanic activity in its past, with large volcanoes erupting and spewing gases into the atmosphere. These volcanic eruptions could have played a role in the formation of Mars's early atmosphere, releasing gases like carbon dioxide and water vapor. However, as volcanic activity diminished, so too did the replenishment of Mars's atmosphere. Over time, without the constant influx of gases from volcanic eruptions, the Martian atmosphere began to degrade further, contributing to the planet's cooling. In addition, the planet's smaller size compared to Earth meant that Mars had less gravitational pull. This smaller gravity made it harder for the planet to retain its atmosphere, allowing more of it to escape into space. Over millions of years, this gradual loss of atmosphere left Mars vulnerable to further cooling, causing a snowball effect, where a thinner atmosphere led to colder temperatures, which then made it even harder for the planet to retain what little atmosphere it had left. Now picture what this would have meant for any life that might have once existed on Mars. If there were organisms, whether simple microbes or something more advanced, they would have found themselves facing a hostile environment as the planet's atmosphere weakened. Life on Mars would have been forced to adapt to an ever-changing climate, perhaps struggling to survive as the warmth and water they once depended on faded away. But eventually, the transformation would have been too much. The atmosphere, once capable of supporting life, would have become so thin that it could no longer sustain anything but the most resilient forms of life, if any at all. What if Mars's decline wasn't just a slow, inevitable process? What if the loss of its atmosphere, the cooling of its surface, and the drying up of its water were all the result of catastrophic events, such as a planetary-scale disaster, or an irreversible shift in the planet's orbit, or axial tilt? Could these changes have been linked to a catastrophic event that altered the very course of Martian history? This is where speculation takes over. Could an ancient Martian civilization have been aware of these shifts in their environment? And if so, how would they have reacted? Did the Martians, if they existed, foresee the impending disaster? Could they have tried to find ways to preserve their world, or even escape to another planet, as their home became inhospitable? Or was the decline of Mars a slow, unpreventable process, leaving no room for the survival of intelligent life? These questions linger in the air, much like the thin atmosphere of Mars itself. In our search for answers, we may discover that the story of Mars's atmosphere is more than just a tale of planetary evolution. It could be a key to understanding not only the history of Mars, but the fate of all civilizations. How fragile we all are in the face of cosmic forces beyond our control. As we continue our exploration of Mars, we must now consider the implications of its atmosphere's dramatic transformation, not only for the planet itself, but for any civilizations that might have once called Mars home. If Mars did indeed support life, and possibly even advanced civilizations, what kind of impact would the gradual collapse of its atmosphere have had on them? Let's imagine a civilization, perhaps thousands of years old, living on the surface of Mars. For generations, they thrived in a relatively stable environment, with a thick atmosphere that kept the temperature regulated and water flowing through rivers and lakes. But as time passed, their world began to change. The winds from the sun began to strip away their protective atmosphere. The clouds started to dissipate, and the rains became less frequent. The inhabitants of Mars might have seen their world slowly dying, with the air becoming thinner and the temperatures dropping. Water, once plentiful, might have begun to retreat, leaving vast deserts in place of once fertile plains. Imagine the panic that would have gripped such a civilization as their planet's climate became increasingly unstable. Could their science and technology have allowed them to reverse the damage or find a way to protect their atmosphere? The potential for such a feat is not entirely out of reach. After all, we on Earth are still exploring ways to manipulate our own climate and atmosphere. Could Mars's ancient inhabitants have been capable of such achievements, or were they too late in their attempts to save their world? The transition from a warm, wet Mars to the frozen desert we see today might not have been gradual in the eyes of its inhabitants. If they were advanced enough, they may have understood that something catastrophic was happening to their atmosphere. Perhaps they even witnessed a critical tipping point, the moment when their planet's atmosphere became too thin to support their civilization. This tipping point could have been marked by a sudden dramatic event, such as a massive volcanic eruption, or a shift in the planet's orbit, or tilt, accelerating the process of atmospheric stripping. If such an event occurred, it might have been a defining moment for Martian life. With their once lush environment turning inhospitable, how would the civilization have responded? Would they have tried to adapt, perhaps by building underground cities or developing technologies to survive in the increasingly hostile conditions? Or would they have been forced to abandon their world entirely, seeking refuge on another planet or even in the stars? One of the most compelling questions to consider is whether such a civilization could have left behind any traces of their existence. Did their cities, monuments, and technologies survive the planetary catastrophe? Could we, in our own time, be looking at the remnants of these long-lost Martians, buried beneath layers of dust and ice? It's a tantalizing possibility, one that has captured the imaginations of scientists and dreamers alike for generations. Some even speculate that the ruins of ancient Martian cities might still be hidden beneath the surface, waiting for future explorers to uncover them. The idea of a civilization on Mars is not as far-fetched as it may seem. We know that Mars once had the conditions necessary for life. Its early history suggests that it was a world rich in resources, with a climate that could have supported a wide range of life forms. What if, just as life began to evolve on Earth, a similar process was occurring on Mars, perhaps even reaching the level of advanced civilization? The idea of a Martian civilization isn't just science fiction. It's a question that challenges our understanding of life and intelligence in the universe. This speculation opens up new avenues of thought. If Mars was home to a flourishing civilization, what would their technology have looked like? Could they have developed forms of energy generation that we cannot yet fathom? Could they have built structures that were capable of withstanding the harsh conditions of their planet? Structures that now lie hidden beneath the surface of Mars. The fact that we have yet to find definitive evidence of such a civilization does not necessarily mean that it didn't exist. After all, we are still uncovering evidence of ancient human civilizations on Earth. Who's to say that Mars doesn't hold similar secrets? Even more fascinating is the question of whether Martian technology could have had an impact on the fate of their atmosphere. If their civilization possessed the ability to manipulate their environment, could they have been the ones to unknowingly trigger the chain of events that led to the collapse of their atmosphere? Could their experiments with terraforming or attempts to harness the planet's resources have caused unintended consequences? The possibility that a Martian civilization might have inadvertently contributed to their own downfall adds a tragic layer to the story of Mars, much like the potential fate we face on Earth if we are not careful with our own environment. This idea also raises questions about the fragility of life and civilization. In general, we often look at Earth as a beacon of hope in the universe, a planet that is teeming with life and opportunity. But what if we are the ones who are vulnerable, just like the Martians before us? What if, in our attempts to alter our environment, we too are slowly pushing ourselves toward a tipping point where the forces of nature are beyond our control? The decline of Mars serves as a powerful reminder of how easily a world can slip from a state of flourishing to one of ruin. The story of Mars is not just the story of a planet. It is the story of the delicate balance that sustains life itself. As we look to Mars, we are not merely searching for answers about the past. We are looking at a reflection of our own future, asking ourselves how we can avoid the same fate. Mars, once home to a thriving atmosphere and perhaps even advanced civilizations, stands as a reminder of the impermanence of life in the universe. As we move forward in our exploration of Mars, we must ask ourselves not just about the secrets it holds, but what lessons it can teach us about the fragility of life and the importance of protecting the world we call home. Mars has captivated humanity's imagination for centuries, this mysterious red surface sparking questions of life beyond Earth. As we ventured closer, exploring its surface through rovers and telescopes, we've uncovered oddities that blur the line between scientific discovery and speculative mystery. Among these enigmas are the strange features that dot the Martian landscape, some of which seem to defy natural explanations. One of the most famous and controversial of these features is the face on Mars, discovered in 1976 by NASA's Viking 1 spacecraft. This formation looks startlingly like a human face, carved into the surface of the planet, though mainstream scientists quickly dismissed it as a trick of light and shadow. The image sparked a wave of speculation. Could this face be a sign of something more, a remnant of an ancient civilization? Imagine for a moment that it is not just a coincidence. What if this face is not a natural formation at all, but instead a structure built by intelligent beings, perhaps the remnants of a long-lost civilization that once called Mars home? The face, with its large looming eyes and rigid symmetrical features, stands out against the otherwise barren landscape. It is almost as though it is watching over Mars, a silent sentinel that has stood the test of time. The idea that this could be an artificial structure has intrigued many, and it raises the tantalizing possibility that Mars once hosted a civilization capable of creating monumental structures. If the face on Mars is not just a trick of light, what else could be hidden beneath the Martian surface? Could there be more faces, more structures, lying dormant, waiting to be uncovered? What if entire cities, long buried under dust and sand, are waiting for the right tools and the right explorers to discover them? Skeptics, of course, argue that the face is nothing more than a natural formation. It's easy to see how the light and shadows of Mars' uneven terrain could create the illusion of a face. Mars, with its deep canyons and rugged mountains, has an eerily familiar look to parts of Earth's landscape. The face could simply be another example of pareidolia, the tendency of the human brain to interpret patterns as something familiar, even when none exist. It's a psychological phenomenon we see on Earth as well, when we look at clouds or rocks and see faces or figures. Yet for all the rational explanations, the idea of a Martian civilization refuses to fade. It is not just the face on Mars that raises questions. Other mysterious features captured by NASA's rovers and satellites seem to suggest that Mars might not have always been the barren wasteland we see today. In fact, Mars once had the conditions to support life. Its atmosphere was thick enough to retain heat, and liquid water once flowed across its surface. Could it be that Mars, at one time, harbored cities, monuments, or even entire civilizations? Rovers like Curiosity and Perseverance have sent back stunning images of the Martian surface. Among the features that raise eyebrows are strange, seemingly geometric formations, perfectly straight lines, right angles, and what appear to be grid-like patterns. These shapes seem too precise to be naturally occurring, leading some to wonder if they might be remnants of artificial construction. If these patterns are indeed man-made, they could be a sign of something extraordinary, evidence of intelligent life on Mars. One of the most intriguing discoveries is the presence of what some scientists believe to be the ruins of large angular structures on the surface of Mars. Some images, taken from orbit, show formations that look strikingly like the remnants of ancient buildings or walls. These structures appear in areas that were once rich in water, near dried-up lakes and riverbeds, ideal locations for a civilization to thrive. Could these be the remnants of cities, or are they simply the result of erosion and wind patterns over millions of years? The debate continues, but the possibility of Martian cities remains a compelling one. It's easy to dismiss these findings as coincidence or the result of natural processes. After all, Mars is a harsh planet, subject to extreme weather patterns and geological forces that shape its surface in ways we don't fully understand. But as we continue to study the planet, more and more of these features are being discovered. Could it be that Mars is hiding a history much older than we've imagined, a history that is both alien and familiar? We must also consider the role of the Martian landscape itself. The presence of large, deep canyons like Valles Marineris suggests a planet that was once shaped by massive forces that could have easily carved out structures and features that now seem impossible to explain. Mars is a world of extremes where ancient rivers cut through the surface, leaving behind valleys and cliffs that tell the story of a time when the planet was much more dynamic. If civilizations existed here, they would have had to contend with a rapidly changing environment, one that may have altered the course of their history. Could these civilizations have built their structures in such a way that they could withstand the test of time, only to be buried by the planet's transformation into the desolate place we see today? Perhaps the most exciting possibility is that Mars, with its craters and canyons, could be hiding more than just ancient features. It could be the site of an ancient spacefaring civilization. Could Martians have developed technology that allowed them to travel between planets, visiting not just Earth, but other celestial bodies as well? What if they were not confined to Mars, but instead spread their influence throughout the solar system, leaving traces of their presence on moons, asteroids, and other planets? Could Mars, once home to a thriving civilization, have played a pivotal role in the development of intelligent life across the solar system? As we continue to search for answers, one thing becomes clear: the mystery of Mars is far from solved. The more we learn, the more questions arise. Could the face on Mars be a glimpse into the distant past, a message from an ancient Martian civilization left behind for us to find? Or is it simply an optical illusion, a trick of the light that our minds have projected onto an alien world? The search for answers will continue, but as we peer deeper into the Martian landscape, we are left to wonder, what other secrets might this red planet be hiding? As we continue our exploration of Mars and the possibility of ancient Martian structures, we must consider the larger implications of what these discoveries could mean. If, some speculate, Mars once supported intelligent life and advanced civilizations, the question becomes, what happened to them? Could they have left behind physical evidence that still lies buried beneath the surface of Mars? Or was the destruction of their world so complete that any trace of their existence was erased, leaving only faint geological whispers of what once was? The possibility of an ancient Martian civilization opens up fascinating questions about the nature of life itself. If Mars once hosted an advanced society, we must ask ourselves, how similar or different would their technology, architecture, and culture have been to ours? Could their civilization have been comparable to early human societies with towering structures, intricate designs, and an intricate understanding of their environment? Or would their advancements have been far beyond our comprehension, so alien that we could not even recognize their achievements? One of the most captivating aspects of this idea is the potential for entirely different forms of technology. We know that Mars' surface is rich in minerals and resources, and if a civilization lived there, they would have had access to these materials. Could their buildings and cities have been constructed from materials that we do not yet understand? Could they have developed technology based on principles that we are only beginning to explore, such as harnessing the power of the elements, or even manipulating the fabric of space and time? What if their mastery of energy allowed them to build structures capable of withstanding the harsh Martian environment for millions of years? Could some of these structures, buried beneath layers of dust and ice, be waiting to be uncovered? While the mainstream scientific community has largely dismissed the idea of ancient Martian structures, there are still occasional whispers of discovery that suggest otherwise. Over the years, a handful of researchers have pointed to images captured by Mars rovers as evidence of artificial formations. These formations, which seem to exhibit regular shapes, sharp angles, and symmetry, are difficult to explain through natural processes alone. If they are not the result of wind erosion or volcanic activity, then what could they be? Could these features be remnants of cities, temples, or even entire civilizations, lying dormant beneath the red sands of Mars? Some researchers have even speculated that there could be structures hidden beneath the Martian surface that are far older than anything we have discovered so far. It is possible that these structures are buried deep enough to avoid detection by the rovers and orbiting satellites. These hypothetical cities could be far more advanced than anything we have built on Earth, with technologies that might allow them to survive the test of time. Could these ancient Martian cities have been designed to withstand the harsh conditions of the planet's transformation, remaining hidden from our view for eons? But if these Martian structures exist, they would likely be found in specific regions of Mars, areas that show signs of ancient water flows or volcanic activity. Such locations would have provided ideal conditions for life to thrive. Take, for example, the region known as Gale Crater, where NASA's Curiosity rover has been studying ancient rock layers. Gale Crater is an area that once hosted a lake, and its sediments may hold clues to the history of water on Mars. If there was ever a time when Mars was habitable, this would have been one of the prime locations. Could ancient Martian structures be hidden in such a place, preserved in the rock layers that scientists are currently examining? In addition to Gale Crater, another intriguing location is the ancient riverbed system that runs through the planet's equator. These dry riverbeds show evidence of water flowing across the Martian surface in the distant past. What if, along these riverbeds, early Martians built their cities, creating sprawling settlements along the shores of Martian lakes and rivers? As the atmosphere began to erode and the planet grew colder, these cities could have been abandoned or buried, left to decay beneath the planet's surface. It is also important to consider the role of Martian dust. Mars is infamous for its dust storms, which can cover the entire planet for months at a time. These dust storms, combined with the erosion caused by solar winds, could have contributed to the gradual burial of any ancient structures. Over time, the dust may have accumulated in layers, encasing any remains of Martian cities, monuments, or buildings. If this is the case, then it is possible that Mars holds an entire hidden world beneath its dusty surface, one that has been preserved for millions of years. But even as we speculate about these lost cities and civilizations, we must also consider the possibility that we may never find concrete evidence of their existence. Mars is a harsh, unforgiving world, and the passage of time has left its mark on the planet's surface. Any civilizations that once thrived there may have been completely erased by the natural processes that transformed the planet. We may never uncover definitive proof of their existence, but that doesn't mean the mystery should be ignored. The quest to understand Mars and its potential for life continues to drive exploration and discovery. In the end, whether we find ancient Martian structures or not, the search for evidence of life beyond Earth raises important questions about the nature of life and civilization itself. If Mars was once home to intelligent beings, it would change everything we thought we knew about the development of life in the universe. The possibility of finding Martian ruins, or even just the faintest trace of their existence, reminds us that the universe is full of mysteries and that the search for answers is far from over. As we continue to explore Mars and its hidden secrets, we may just stumble upon the greatest discovery in human history, the remnants of a civilization that once lived on the red planet. Mars, the red planet, has long been a symbol of mystery and fascination. From the moment we first turned our telescopes toward it, we've wondered if Mars could be a mirror to Earth, a world where life once flourished, or perhaps could again. The most compelling clue that Mars may have once supported life is the discovery of liquid water. For years, scientists had speculated about Mars's past, but it wasn't until recent rover missions and satellite imagery that this question was given serious weight. Mars once had liquid water flowing through rivers, filling lakes, and possibly even creating vast oceans. But how did it all change? How did a planet once teeming with water transform into the cold, barren desert we see today? The evidence is undeniable. Mars is riddled with ancient riverbeds and dried-up lakes that tell the tale of a wetter past. Ancient valleys, carved by flowing water, stretch across the Martian surface like scars left by long-lost rivers. The signs of erosion are everywhere, remnants of once active landscapes that have now fallen silent. For scientists, these features are proof that water was once abundant on Mars, flowing freely across its surface. But more than that, they hint at the possibility that during its early years, Mars may have been a far more hospitable place, one where conditions could have supported life as we know it. Imagine a Martian landscape from billions of years ago, when the planet's atmosphere was thicker, its temperatures warmer, and its skies cloudy with moisture. The surface was not the cold, dry desert of today, but a world where rivers meandered through valleys, feeding lakes and oceans. Along the shores of these bodies of water, Martian life could have emerged, much like life began on Earth. The waters would have been vital, nourishing the landscape, providing the essential conditions for early forms of life to thrive. This image of a once wet Mars is not just an exercise in imagination. The scientific community has gathered a wealth of evidence to support the theory that water played a key role in Mars's early history. Mars's ancient surface is rich with minerals that only form in the presence of water. These minerals, such as clay and sulfates, are found in large quantities in regions like Gale Crater, where NASA's Curiosity rover has been studying the planet's geology. In fact, many of the features observed by rovers are indistinguishable from those we find here on Earth, in places that were once covered by water. This suggests that liquid water was once present in large quantities, shaping the Martian landscape in ways that are eerily similar to Earth's own history. Yet, while the evidence of water is clear, the question remains, could these conditions have been enough to support life? Could Mars have been a cradle for an ancient civilization, thriving in the warmth of a stable climate, nourished by the waters of its rivers and lakes? It's an intriguing possibility, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about life beyond Earth. After all, water is one of the essential building blocks for life. On Earth, it's the very foundation of biological processes. Could Mars, with its ancient rivers and lakes, have nurtured life in a way similar to how Earth's oceans gave birth to life billions of years ago? As we delve deeper into this theory, we must consider the state of Mars's atmosphere at the time. For Mars to have supported liquid water on its surface, its atmosphere must have been thicker, capable of trapping heat and preventing the water from freezing. Today, Mars's thin atmosphere provides almost no protection from the cold, and its surface temperature hovers around 80 ppf 60 gut on average. But in the distant past, Mars may have had a much denser atmosphere, rich in carbon dioxide, which would have created a stronger greenhouse effect, keeping the planet warm enough to sustain liquid water. In fact, some scientists believe that Mars could have had a climate similar to early Earth, with temperatures that allowed water to flow freely across the planet's surface, carving valleys and forming lakes. But what happened to this warm, wet Mars? How did it transform into the cold, desolate planet we see today? Theories abound, ranging from catastrophic events like asteroid impacts to gradual changes in the planet's atmosphere. Some scientists believe that Mars's atmosphere was stripped away by the solar wind, while others suggest that volcanic activity in the planet's declining magnetic field played a role in its cooling. Regardless of the exact cause, one thing is clear: the Mars we see today is vastly different from the planet it once was. In the midst of this transformation, any life that once existed on Mars would have been faced with an increasingly hostile environment. As the water began to dry up and the climate became colder, life would have been forced to adapt or perish. Could the Martian life forms have been resilient enough to survive the changing conditions, perhaps retreating underground or developing ways to endure the harsher climate? Or was the decline of Mars too swift, too complete, for any life to survive? The possibility that life once existed on Mars, only to be wiped out by a planetary catastrophe, is a sobering thought. But perhaps the most intriguing question is, could the ancient waters of Mars have nurtured not just microbial life, but intelligent beings capable of building a civilization? Could these Martians have developed technologies and societies long before Earth's own civilizations began to form? The idea of a Martian civilization is still a speculative one, but it is a possibility that can no longer be dismissed outright. After all, the conditions on Mars were once favorable for life. If life can emerge under the right conditions, could it have evolved to the point of advanced intelligence, just as it did on Earth? In the next part of this chapter, we will dive deeper into this idea, exploring the potential for life on Mars and the possibility that this ancient water-filled world was not just the cradle for microorganisms, but for something far greater, an advanced Martian civilization that may have once called Mars home. Could the ancient rivers and lakes have been the birthplace of a culture that rivaled our own in intelligence, science, and creativity? Or were the Martians simply another chapter in the long story of life in the universe, their rise and fall as inevitable as the tides of their world? As we continue our journey through the early water-rich era of Mars, we turn our attention to the possibility of life itself. Could Mars have been home to a thriving ecosystem, filled with life forms of all kinds, with liquid water present on the surface, and a warmer, more stable climate? The conditions would have been perfect for life to take root. We know that life, as we understand it, began on Earth in water. From the smallest microbe to the most complex organisms, life found its beginnings in our planet's oceans and rivers. Could the same have been true for Mars? Let's imagine for a moment what life on Mars might have looked like during this water era. Picture vast, flowing rivers cutting through expansive valleys, feeding lakes and oceans. Along these shores, life would have emerged in the most basic forms, simple microorganisms, thriving in the warm waters. Just as Earth's first life forms began in the oceans, so too could Martian life have found a foothold in its own rivers and lakes. Perhaps tiny single-celled organisms once swam in the Martian waters, living off the nutrients carried by the currents. But it doesn't stop there. As Mars evolved, could more complex forms of life have developed? Could the conditions on the planet, with its thick atmosphere and stable climate, have supported multicellular life? Could Mars have once had creatures crawling along its shores, swimming through its waters, or even flying through its skies? The idea of complex life on Mars is a fascinating one. We tend to think of life as something that requires very specific conditions: warmth, liquid water, and a stable atmosphere. Mars, during its water era, had all of these elements. Could these conditions have given rise to more advanced forms of life, perhaps even intelligent beings capable of building civilization? While the idea of intelligent Martian life may seem far-fetched, it is important to remember that life in all its forms is incredibly adaptable. Life on Earth has evolved in the most extreme environments, deep in the oceans, high in the atmosphere, and even in the frozen tundras. Why couldn't life on Mars have evolved to survive in the challenging conditions of the Martian landscape? And if life did evolve on Mars, could it have developed in ways we don't yet understand? Could Martian life have developed in ways that are entirely alien to us, with forms of biology that differ from our own? This brings us to the possibility of an ancient Martian civilization. What if life on Mars didn't stop at microbes or basic organisms? What if intelligent beings once lived on the surface of Mars, building cities and creating technologies that rivaled those of early Earth civilizations? Could Mars have been the cradle of a civilization that was far older than ours, a society that flourished for millions of years before the planet's environment began to change? Let's imagine then what a Martian civilization might have looked like. Could they have built towering cities along the shores of Mars' vast lakes, using the planet's natural resources to create structures capable of withstanding the changing climate? Perhaps their technology was based on harnessing the power of the planet's abundant water, using it to power machines, create energy, and fuel their civilization. As their planet began to change, could they have adapted, developing underground cities or advanced technology to cope with the loss of water and the cooling temperatures? But as the Martian atmosphere began to thin and the climate grew colder, life on Mars would have become increasingly difficult. With the loss of liquid water and a dwindling supply of resources, even the most advanced civilizations would have faced extinction. Could the Martians have foreseen this collapse? Could they have attempted to escape their dying planet, perhaps seeking refuge on nearby moons or planets? The idea of a Martian exodus with a civilization fleeing a dying world is a compelling one, a tragic story of a species trying to survive in the face of an inevitable catastrophe. As Mars began to dry up, its rivers and lakes evaporating, the Martians would have had to contend with the harsh realities of their planet's changing environment. If they were capable of advanced technology, they may have tried to preserve what they could, converting water into vapor or storing it in subterranean reservoirs? Could they have built massive structures beneath the surface to protect themselves from the thinning atmosphere and the extreme cold? Or were they doomed to watch as their world slowly fell apart, just as their oceans and rivers began to disappear? But even if the Martians were unable to save their civilization, their legacy could still survive. The remnants of their cities, their technology, and their way of life could have been preserved beneath the sands and dust of Mars, waiting to be discovered by future explorers. Could we one day find the ruins of ancient Martian cities, built with technologies that are far beyond our own understanding, waiting to reveal the story of a civilization lost to time? For now, we can only speculate about the potential for life on Mars. The evidence of ancient water, combined with the signs of an atmosphere capable of supporting life, suggests that Mars was once a planet teeming with possibility. Whether it was home to simple microbes or a complex civilization, Mars holds the key to understanding the potential for life beyond Earth. If we continue to explore its surface and its history, we may one day uncover the secrets of this lost world and perhaps even answer the most profound question of all. Were we the first to walk upon this ancient planet, or did another civilization walk before us, leaving behind traces of their existence? As we look to Mars in the coming years, our search for answers will continue. With each rover, each new discovery, we edge closer to understanding the history of the red planet and whether it was once the cradle of life, perhaps even a civilization that left its mark upon the stars. The water that once flowed across Mars's surface may be gone, but the possibility that it nurtured life, and perhaps even an advanced civilization, remains one of the greatest mysteries of our time. Mars has long been a focal point for those seeking answers to one of humanity's most profound questions. Are we alone in the universe? The discovery that Mars once had liquid water on its surface, along with the tantalizing possibility of an ancient habitable environment, has led to the development of many theories about life on the red planet, from microscopic organisms to the idea of advanced civilizations. The question of Martian life has sparked debates, fueling the imagination of scientists, dreamers, and skeptics alike. For decades, the prevailing scientific theory was that Mars never hosted any form of life. It was thought that Mars, being a dry, cold desert today, had never had the conditions necessary for life to form or evolve. However, as evidence of ancient water continued to surface, that narrative began to shift. Mainstream science now acknowledges that Mars, in its distant past, had a much warmer and wetter climate, ideal conditions for microbial life. The discovery of water in the form of riverbeds, minerals that only form in liquid water, and signs of ancient lakes has led scientists to revise their theories, suggesting that Mars may have once harbored life, albeit in its simplest form. Microbial life is often the starting point when considering the possibilities of Martian life. Microbes are the most basic forms of life, single-celled organisms that can survive in extreme conditions, much like the bacteria and archaea that inhabit the most hostile environments on Earth. On our planet, microbes have been found living in places previously thought uninhabitable, in deep ocean vents, frozen tundras, and acidic hot springs. If life on Earth can thrive in such extreme conditions, it's reasonable to consider that similar microbes could have existed on Mars, adapting to the planet's ancient environment. The evidence for microbial life on Mars comes from several sources. The Curiosity rover, which has been exploring the Gale crater since 2012, found evidence of ancient water-laden environments that could have supported microbial life. These environments were rich in minerals like clay, which forms in the presence of water. The rover discovered rock formations that could have been formed in ancient lakes, suggesting that Mars once had stable, long-lasting bodies of water that could have supported microbial life for extended periods. Additionally, scientists have found chemical signatures in Martian rocks that indicate the past presence of organic molecules, the building blocks of life. However, while the idea of microbial life on Mars is becoming more accepted, the possibility of more complex life forms is still debated. Could Mars have been home to more advanced organisms, perhaps even multicellular life forms? Some researchers speculate that just as life on Earth evolved from simple bacteria to complex animals, the same process could have occurred on Mars. After all, Mars had all the necessary conditions for life to evolve, at least in its early years: water, a stable climate, and an atmosphere thick enough to allow for liquid water. If these conditions persisted for millions of years, could life have evolved on Mars to a level of complexity comparable to early Earth? The idea of complex life on Mars, so intriguing, faces significant hurdles. Unlike Earth, Mars's atmosphere today is incredibly thin, and its surface is subjected to intense radiation from the sun, as well as the solar wind, which strips away any protective magnetic field. These harsh conditions make it difficult to imagine that complex life could have evolved on the planet without form of technological protection or underground habitats. Even during Mars's more habitable period, it's unclear if the planet could have supported life forms more complex than simple microbes. Still, some theorists hold out hope, suggesting that Martian life may have evolved in ways we do not yet understand. But it's not just microbial or multicellular life that has caught the imagination of those interested in the possibility of life on Mars. There are fringe theories that suggest Mars could have hosted intelligent life, perhaps even advanced civilizations that rose and fell long before Earth's evolution began. These ideas are often dismissed by the scientific community, but they raise fascinating questions about the potential for life beyond Earth. One of the most captivating aspects of these fringe theories is the idea that Martians, if they ever existed, may have developed technologies far beyond our own. Imagine a civilization that mastered the ability to terraform their planet, shaping Mars to suit their needs. Could they have built cities or monuments that are now buried beneath the surface, waiting to be discovered? Could they have even developed spacefaring technology, traveling to other planets or moons in the solar system? The notion of Martians exploring the stars, much like we are doing now, raises tantalizing possibilities about the history of our solar system. This theory is based on the assumption that Mars, in its early history, was not only more habitable, but also had a stable enough climate and atmosphere to allow for the development of complex life and intelligence. It suggests that the Martian climate may have remained stable for millions of years, providing a long enough window for life to evolve from simple microbes to advanced, intelligent beings capable of building a civilization. The idea that Martians once had the technological prowess to alter their environment or explore the cosmos is both exciting and speculative. While there is no direct evidence to support this theory, it raises important questions about the nature of life in the universe. Could Mars have been home to a civilization that reached its peak long before Earth's own rise to prominence? In this scenario, the disappearance of Mars's civilization could be the result of a catastrophic event, a planetary-scale disaster that wiped out the Martians and left behind only faint traces of their existence. The collapse of their atmosphere, combined with Mars's dwindling water supply, could have led to the extinction of their civilization. Perhaps the Martians, like humans, overexploited their planet's resources, causing an irreversible environmental collapse. Alternatively, they may have faced a cosmic disaster, such as an asteroid impact, that wiped out their cities and their way of life. Theories of intelligent life on Mars also raise the question of whether we might one day discover evidence of their existence. Could Martian ruins, cities, or artifacts be buried beneath the Martian surface waiting to be uncovered? The recent discovery of mysterious structures and formations on Mars, such as the face on Mars and other geometric shapes, has fueled speculation that these could be remnants of an ancient civilization. Some believe that, buried deep beneath the planet's dust and ice, entire cities or temples could lie waiting to be uncovered by future explorers. But whether or not these theories of ancient intelligent life on Mars hold any weight is still a matter of speculation. The mainstream scientific view remains that Mars, despite its potential to support life, likely never hosted a civilization as advanced as what we know on Earth. Still, the possibility of ancient life, whether microbial or intelligent, remains one of the greatest mysteries of our solar system. The more we explore Mars, the more questions we uncover, and the deeper the mystery becomes. As we continue to consider the tantalizing theories surrounding ancient life on Mars, we must confront the possibility that the true nature of Martian life, if it ever existed, might forever remain a mystery. Despite the advances in our exploration of the Red Planet, we have yet to find direct evidence of life, but the search continues, and with each new discovery, we inch closer to understanding Mars's hidden past. Let's delve further into the fringe theories, suggesting the presence of intelligent life on Mars, building on the premise that, in its early days, Mars was a planet capable of supporting complex ecosystems, even civilizations. The idea that a civilization could have once flourished on Mars, only to vanish, is one that not only sparks our curiosity, but challenges our perceptions of what life can be. Could an advanced society have risen on Mars, developing technologies far beyond anything we can currently imagine, only to be destroyed by the very forces of nature that they failed to control? Consider the possibility that the Martians, if they ever existed, might have experienced a similar trajectory to what we are witnessing here on Earth. They may have evolved on Mars over millions of years, achieving technological feats far beyond our own. Could they have developed cities powered by renewable energy? Could they have mastered space travel with spacecraft that traveled to the moons of Mars or beyond? These ideas may sound like science fiction, but they raise important questions about the potential for life elsewhere in the universe. After all, if life could rise to such heights on Earth, why couldn't it have done the same on Mars, especially given that the planet once had the necessary conditions for life? One of the most intriguing aspects of the theory of ancient Martian civilizations is the possibility that they could have left behind traces of their existence, remnants of their technologies, cities, or monuments. Could Mars be hiding an ancient, buried city with structures similar to those found in Earth's lost civilizations? The idea of an ancient Martian city buried beneath layers of dust and ice is both captivating and haunting. Could we one day uncover artifacts, tools, or even records of their existence, revealing a history of a civilization that once called Mars home? The mystery of the face on Mars is one of the most famous pieces of evidence that has fueled this speculative narrative. Discovered by NASA's Viking 1 spacecraft in 1976, the face is a strange formation that resembles a human face, complete with eyes, nose, and mouth. While mainstream scientists have dismissed the face as a natural rock formation shaped by wind and erosion, it has remained a symbol of speculation for many who believe that it may be the remnants of a statue or monument built by an ancient Martian civilization. The face on Mars has become a focal point for those who argue that intelligent life once existed on the planet, and that this formation could be a clue to their lost history. Beyond the face, there are other mysterious features on Mars that have sparked similar theories. For example, some images from the Mars Orbiter camera have shown what appear to be geometric shapes, such as rectangular outlines and straight lines that could resemble ruins or the remains of Martian buildings. These structures, if they are indeed man-made, would suggest that Mars was once home to a civilization that left behind a legacy of architecture and technology. Could these features be remnants of an ancient Martian city, or are they simply the result of natural geological processes? The discovery of these strange shapes and patterns has led some to speculate that Mars was once populated by a highly advanced civilization. Could these structures have been part of a grand urban center with roads, buildings, and other infrastructure that reflected the sophisticated engineering capabilities of the Martians? Or are they simply geological formations that our human minds are projecting shapes onto, seeing patterns where none exist? This is the crux of the debate, whether these features are truly signs of an ancient civilization or just natural formations that our brains interpret as something familiar. While mainstream science largely dismisses the idea of advanced civilizations on Mars, the question remains, could such a civilization have existed, only to be wiped out by the planet's changing conditions? As we continue to explore the surface of Mars with rovers and orbiters, we gather new data, but the possibility of finding conclusive evidence of past civilizations remains elusive. But it's not just the search for ancient ruins that drives this speculation. It's the underlying question of what happened to Mars in the first place. If Mars once had a thick atmosphere, flowing rivers, and a climate capable of supporting life, What caused the planet to change so drastically? Could the collapse of Mars's environment have been the result of a cataclysmic event, one that destroyed not only the planet's ability to sustain life, but also any civilizations that may have risen? This is where the possibility of intelligent life takes on a more tragic dimension. Imagine a civilization on Mars that was aware of the changes happening to their planet, an advanced society that understood the fragile nature of their world and the dangers posed by their weakening atmosphere. Could they have tried to reverse the damage, developing technologies to preserve their environment or adapt to the changing conditions? Or were they powerless in the face of a planetary catastrophe that gradually rendered Mars uninhabitable? The idea of Martians, intelligent beings who once had the knowledge and technology to shape their world, facing an extinction event adds a layer of sadness to the mystery. Could they have left behind a message, a clue, or a record of their existence, only for us to discover it, long after their civilization had vanished? While it may seem impossible to prove the existence of ancient Martian civilizations, the question of whether intelligent life ever arose on Mars is an essential part of our quest to understand the universe. The idea that we are not alone, that other civilizations may have existed in the past, only to disappear, challenges our notions of life, intelligence, and the fragility of civilization itself. Mars, with its signs of ancient water, its mysterious structures, and its history of dramatic environmental changes, stands as a testament to the potential for life to rise and fall, not just on Earth, but across the cosmos. In the end, the theories of ancient life on Mars, whether microbial, complex, or intelligent, continue to fuel the imagination. The more we learn about Mars, the more we realize how little we know about the true history of this mysterious planet. Could Mars once have been home to thriving civilizations only to be lost to time and environmental catastrophe? As we continue to search for answers, the possibility remains that one day we may uncover the remnants of an ancient Martian civilization hidden beneath layers of dust and ice, waiting to tell its story. Throughout history, humanity has looked to the stars, wondering if we are truly alone in the universe. We've gazed upon the heavens, searching for answers to questions as old as civilization itself. Where did we come from? What if the answer isn't as simple as we think? What if the origins of humanity, or even the spark of our earliest civilizations, were influenced by something or someone from another world? The idea that Earth's earliest civilizations, with their awe-inspiring monuments and advanced knowledge, may have been seeded by Martians, or at the very least influenced by their ancient knowledge, has intrigued thinkers for centuries. The connection between Mars and Earth is not as far-fetched as it might first seem. Mars, with its history of water and its once habitable climate, offers a compelling backdrop to the speculation that ancient life on Mars could have influenced Earth. Some even suggest that Mars might have been home to an advanced civilization, one that possessed knowledge and technology far beyond anything that we know today. Could this Martian civilization have had a hand in guiding Earth's early development? Could they have left behind knowledge, ideas, or even technology that sparked the rise of ancient Earth civilizations like the Egyptians, Sumerians, and the builders of Stonehenge? Consider the Great Pyramids of Giza, one of the most remarkable achievements of ancient human civilization. Built with precise mathematical and architectural knowledge, the pyramids continue to mystify archaeologists and engineers. Despite centuries of study, many aspects of the pyramid's construction remain unexplained. How did the ancient Egyptians manage to construct such massive and perfectly aligned structures with the tools and knowledge available to them at the time? Some theorists argue that the Egyptians must have had access to knowledge that was passed down from an older, more advanced civilization, perhaps from Mars. The connection between Mars and the Great Pyramids is not just about physical structures. It's about the ideas and technologies that could have been transferred to Earth's early civilization. If Mars once hosted a thriving civilization capable of understanding the principles of mathematics, engineering, and astronomy, it is possible that their knowledge was passed down to Earth, either through direct interaction or through some other means. Perhaps the Egyptians, in their search for spiritual enlightenment, discovered ancient Martian knowledge, or in an even more speculative theory, were visited by beings from Mars who shared their wisdom with Earth's inhabitants. The idea that extraterrestrial knowledge could have influenced human civilization is not new. Throughout history, ancient cultures have recorded encounters with gods or celestial beings who taught them how to build, how to measure time, or how to understand the stars. The ancient Sumerians, for example, recorded encounters with beings known as the Anunnaki, who supposedly came from the heavens and imparted knowledge to them. Could the Anunnaki have been Martians, or even visitors from Mars, who once had contact with Earth's early civilization? While mainstream science dismisses this notion, it's a theory that has gained traction among fringe researchers and theorists. As we dig deeper into the possibility of a Martian influence on Earth's early civilizations, the connection between Mars and Earth grows even more intriguing. The Sphinx, with its mysterious origins, has long been a symbol of human ingenuity and ancient wisdom. Some have speculated that the design of the Sphinx, with its lion's body and human face, could be a reflection of Martian symbolism or knowledge. The Sphinx is aligned with the stars of Orion's belt, a constellation that has held deep spiritual significance for many ancient cultures. Could the alignment of the Sphinx with these stars be a clue to an ancient connection between Mars and Earth? One of the most significant aspects of this theory is the idea that Mars could have played a key role in the development of Earth's early astronomy. Mars, with its once thick atmosphere and potentially habitable conditions, might have been a focal point for astronomical study for an ancient civilization, possibly the Martians themselves. They may have had a much more advanced understanding of the cosmos than we do today. It's possible that through their observations of the stars and planets, they passed down this knowledge to Earth's early civilizations, guiding them in their own studies of the heavens. But the connection between Mars and Earth doesn't stop at the Great Pyramids and Stonehenge. It extends to other monumental achievements of early human civilization, such as the construction of megalithic sites around the world. From the stone circles of the British Isles to the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, these ancient structures were built with advanced knowledge of mathematics and astronomy. Could the builders of these structures have been influenced by Martian knowledge, passed down over eons? Could the complex geometries and alignments found in these sites be echoes of a Martian civilization that once understood the laws of the universe far more deeply than we ever imagined? This theory is, of course, speculative. There is no direct evidence linking Mars to Earth's early civilizations. However, the coincidences are worth considering. Throughout history, advanced knowledge has often been attributed to gods, extraterrestrial beings, or visitors from the stars. Could these gods have been Martians passing down their knowledge to humanity? Could the ancient gods of Mesopotamia, Egypt, and other cultures have been inspired by Martian visitors or Martian knowledge? While mainstream archaeology and astronomy are cautious in their approach to these ideas, the connection between Mars and Earth invites us to think beyond the conventional explanations for the rise of civilization. It challenges us to consider that humanity's origins may not be entirely of this world. Perhaps Mars, a planet now cold and lifeless, once held the keys to our own civilization's greatest achievements. The possibility that ancient Martians played a role in shaping Earth's history is a tantalizing one, and as our exploration of Mars continues, we may yet uncover new evidence that shifts our understanding of the past. As we continue exploring the intriguing connection between Mars and Earth, we must delve deeper into the nature of this potential influence. Could the remarkable achievements of Earth's ancient civilizations be linked to knowledge passed down from Mars, or perhaps even from Martian visitors? While the mainstream scientific view holds that Earth's civilizations developed independently, the question of whether external influences played a role remains a compelling topic for speculation. One key area where this theory has gained traction is in the study of ancient advanced technologies. The Great Pyramids of Giza are one example that stands out, as the level of engineering required to construct such a structure is beyond what many believed the Egyptians were capable of at the time. The precision with which the pyramids were constructed, the alignment of their faces with the cardinal points, and the mathematical understanding required to build them all point to a level of sophistication that seems almost out of place for an ancient civilization. How could the Egyptians, using primitive tools, have achieved such a feat? One possible answer proposed by proponents of the Mars-Earth connection theory is that the ancient Egyptians, and potentially other civilizations, were influenced by knowledge that originated beyond Earth. If Mars once hosted an advanced civilization, it is conceivable that this knowledge could have found its way to Earth either through direct contact or through the exchange of ideas across time. Could the Egyptians have received teachings from Martians? Or could Martian explorers have visited Earth, sharing their understanding of architecture, mathematics, and astronomy? Let's explore this idea further by looking at another enigmatic structure, Stonehenge, in England. Like the pyramids, Stonehenge is a marvel of ancient engineering. Its massive stones were transported from miles away, and the monument is perfectly aligned with the movements of the sun. Astronomical knowledge required to build such a structure is astonishing for a society that did not have modern tools or technology. How did the ancient builders of Stonehenge know how to align the stones so precisely with celestial bodies? Could they have been guided by knowledge passed down from a more advanced civilization, perhaps from Mars, which had the tools and understanding to study the stars in ways that Earth's early civilizations could not have? The connection between ancient astronomical sites like Stonehenge and Mars is speculative, but there is a thread of possibility worth exploring. Mars itself has been a key object of study for ancient astronomers, as it is one of the brightest objects in the night sky and has always intrigued observers. In ancient cultures, the planet was often associated with gods and deities, like the Roman god of war, Mars. Could the prominence of Mars in early human mythologies indicate that ancient cultures had knowledge of the planet beyond what we might expect? Perhaps they saw Mars not only as a god or celestial body, but as a distant, once thriving world, a place from which knowledge could have been passed down. If we accept the premise that Mars was once home to an advanced civilization, the question arises, how did this civilization obtain such knowledge in the first place? Could it have been passed down from an even older, more ancient source? Some theorists speculate that Martians, perhaps through the study of their own dying world, gained deep insights into the cosmos and the laws of nature. These insights could have been passed to Earth in various forms, through physical artifacts, ancient texts, or even the teachings of visiting Martians. This suggests the idea that the Martian influence was not just one way. Earth, in turn, could have been a recipient of this knowledge, incorporating it into its own growing civilizations, possibly even through an exchange of ideas with Martian visitors or survivors. Another intriguing element of this theory is the possibility that Earth's earliest structures, such as the pyramids and ziggurats, were inspired by Martian architecture. The pyramids are not the only example of advanced engineering found in the ancient world. Similar pyramid-like structures can be found in other parts of the world, such as Central America, Asia, and even the ancient Near East. The similarities between these structures across different cultures are striking and raise the question of whether there was an underlying shared source of knowledge, perhaps originating from Mars, that influenced these early civilizations. Let's consider the possibility that these early civilizations weren't just influenced by Martian ideas, but may have had actual contact with Martians or their descendants. Some fringe theories suggest that Martians, or perhaps a civilization that once lived on Mars, may have visited Earth in its ancient past. These Martians could have shared their knowledge with Earth's early humans, sparking the rise of civilization. Could these ancient visitors have left behind traces of their existence, either in the form of physical artifacts or in the stories passed down through generations? Ancient mythologies from cultures around the world describe gods or visitors from the stars, beings with advanced knowledge who imparted wisdom to the people of Earth. Could these gods have been Martians, sharing the knowledge they had acquired through their own long history on Mars? This idea, while speculative, is not without precedent in the study of ancient cultures. Many early cultures recorded stories of beings from the heavens, gods, angels, or extraterrestrials, who taught them essential knowledge, including agriculture, writing, and mathematics. The ancient Sumerians, for example, told tales of the Anunnaki, deities who came from the heavens and gave humanity knowledge. The similarities between the stories of the Anunnaki and modern ideas of extraterrestrial contact are striking. Could these stories be based on real encounters with Martians? Or could they be symbolic representations of a much earlier exchange of knowledge between Earth and Mars? In considering the Mars-Earth connection, it's important to remain open to the possibility that ancient civilizations were not isolated, but were part of a larger, interconnected cosmic history. If Mars once had the conditions necessary for life, it is plausible that intelligent beings could have risen there long before humanity emerged on Earth. These Martians could have shared their knowledge with Earth's early civilizations, shaping the course of human history and contributing to the advancements of our ancient ancestors. Could the pyramids, Stonehenge, and other monumental structures be the result of such an exchange? While mainstream science may not fully embrace these theories, the possibilities they present are thought-provoking and worth considering. As we continue our exploration of Mars, one thing becomes clear: the connection between Mars and Earth is far deeper than we have yet understood. The more we learn about Mars, the more questions arise about the potential influence it may have had on our own civilization's development. Mars, once a thriving world full of potential, has seen its fair share of mystery and destruction. For billions of years, it was likely a habitable planet, warm and wet, with flowing rivers and lakes. But what happened to this once fertile and vibrant world? How did it transform into the barren, icy desert that we observe today? Was it the result of a natural cosmic event, or did it suffer a gradual decline, a slow, unstoppable downfall? Or perhaps was there a catastrophic event that changed the course of Mars's history forever? Theories about the downfall of Mars are as varied as they are fascinating. Some scientists argue that the planet's transformation was the result of gradual, long-term processes. Others suggest that Mars's demise was caused by a sudden and catastrophic event, one that forever altered the planet's climate, atmosphere, and potential for life. The idea that a single catastrophic event could have wiped out a thriving Martian civilization, if it existed, is a chilling thought. Could an asteroid impact, a massive solar flare, or some other cosmic disaster have played a role in Mars's fall from grace? One of the most widely accepted theories about the downfall of Mars is that it lost its once thick atmosphere over time. In the distant past, Mars had a thick, warm atmosphere that could support liquid water, making it a far more habitable world than it is today. Theories suggest that the loss of the planet's atmosphere was a gradual process, caused by factors such as the weakening of its magnetic field. Without the protection of a magnetic shield, Mars's atmosphere was slowly stripped away by the solar wind, leaving the planet exposed to the harsh elements of space. As the atmosphere thinned, the planet cooled, and liquid water evaporated, retreating from the surface and leaving Mars with the frozen desert we know today. However, there are those who believe that the downfall of Mars was more sudden and catastrophic. What if the planet was struck by a cosmic event, such as an asteroid or comet impact, that caused massive changes in its environment? The idea that Mars might have suffered an impact that wiped out its atmosphere or severely altered its climate is not as far-fetched as it might seem. After all, Earth itself has experienced several mass extinction events caused by asteroid impacts. Could Mars have faced a similar catastrophe, one that led to the destruction of any life that may have existed? One of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the idea of a catastrophic event is the discovery of large impact craters on Mars' surface. These craters, such as the massive Hellas Basin, suggest that Mars has been bombarded by asteroids or comets in its past. An impact of this scale could have had catastrophic consequences for the planet's climate and atmosphere. It's possible that such an event could have caused massive fires, released poisonous gases into the atmosphere, and disrupted the delicate balance that allowed life to thrive. If Mars had already been experiencing the slow loss of its atmosphere due to solar winds, a large asteroid impact could have been the final blow, accelerating the decline of the planet's environment and rendering it uninhabitable. But was Mars's downfall the result of just one catastrophic event, or were there multiple factors at play? Another theory suggests that Mars may have experienced a series of catastrophic events, each one compounding the planet's decline. The weakening of its magnetic field, the loss of its atmosphere, and massive impacts could have combined to create a perfect storm of environmental destruction. These events could have created a domino effect, with each disaster exacerbating the effects of the others. As Mars's atmosphere thinned and its climate grew more extreme, life would have found it increasingly difficult to survive. However, despite these dramatic changes, there is a glimmer of hope. While Mars may have suffered a catastrophic downfall, it's possible that some form of life managed to survive. Could microbes have found refuge beneath the surface of Mars, in underground aquifers or caves, where they were shielded from the harsh conditions above? Could life, even in its most basic form, have clung to survival in the face of a dying planet? The idea that life could have persisted on Mars, even after the planet's surface became inhospitable, is one of the most fascinating possibilities to consider. While the surface of Mars may have been decimated by cosmic events, the underground could have provided a sanctuary for life. The discovery of water in the form of ice beneath the surface of Mars has only fueled this theory. If life existed beneath the surface, it could have survived by feeding off the planet's underground water reserves. The presence of ice at the poles and deep within the planet suggests that there may still be reservoirs of liquid water trapped below the surface. This raises the intriguing possibility that life could have adapted to survive in this hidden underground world. Perhaps Mars was not completely devoid of life after its surface was devastated. Perhaps there were survivors hidden away in the depths of the planet, waiting for the conditions to change. If life did survive beneath the surface of Mars, it could have remained dormant for millions of years, shielded from the harsh conditions on the surface. Perhaps, over time, these Martian microbes evolved in isolation, adapting to their underground environment. The discovery of such life hidden beneath the surface of Mars could forever change our understanding of life in the universe. It would not only provide evidence that life can exist in the most extreme conditions, but it would also suggest that Mars could still harbor life in some form today. But what about the Martian civilization, if one ever existed? Could the Martians themselves have witnessed the catastrophic events that led to the downfall of their planet? If they were capable of advanced technology, could they have foreseen the planet's decline? Perhaps they even attempted to escape Mars, seeking refuge on other planets or moons in the solar system. The idea that Martians might have known the end was coming and tried to escape their doomed world is a haunting thought. Could their civilization have reached a level of technology capable of space travel, only to watch their home planet fade into the abyss of cosmic history? As we contemplate the possible downfall of Mars, we must now consider the lingering questions that surround the fate of any Martian life, whether microbial or intelligent. Was the Martian civilization doomed to extinction by the very forces that shaped its decline? Or did some form of life manage to endure the catastrophe? And if so, could this surviving life have persisted beneath the surface, waiting for the right conditions to re-emerge? One theory posits that, while Mars's surface became inhospitable due to the loss of its atmosphere and the planet's extreme cooling, life may have found refuge below. Imagine Martian microbes, evolved to survive in the planet's deep underground aquifers, insulated from the harsh surface conditions by layers of rock and ice. These life forms could have remained dormant for millennia, shielded from the radiation and atmospheric stripping above, awaiting the day when the planet's surface conditions might change. In this scenario, Mars's underground might have been a sanctuary, a place where life clung on, even as the surface became a desolate, barren wasteland. And though Mars may have lost its oceans, lakes, and rivers, the underground water reserves could have sustained microbial life, providing the essential elements needed for survival. These microbes could have been the last remnants of Martian life, enduring in a world that had long since grown inhospitable to more complex life forms. If this is true, it presents a fascinating possibility that Mars may still harbor life beneath its surface today. The discovery of subsurface ice and signs of underground water sources on Mars has further fueled this theory. Could these underground reserves be hiding life that has persisted since the planet's downfall? And if life still exists beneath Mars's surface, could it hold the key to understanding the resilience of life in extreme conditions? On a broader scale, The fall of Mars may also offer a cautionary tale for Earth. As we continue to exploit our planet's resources and alter its atmosphere, we must ask ourselves, could Earth suffer a similar fate? Mars's downfall serves as a reminder that even the most advanced civilizations can fall, and that the forces of nature, whether cosmic or planetary, are beyond our control. Could the loss of Mars's atmosphere and its resulting environmental collapse be a preview of what might happen if we do not take steps to preserve our own planet? Yet, as we consider the potential for life on Mars, we must also acknowledge the profound mystery that remains. Could the Martians, if they existed, have left behind a legacy of knowledge, perhaps a record of their civilization, hidden beneath the Martian surface, waiting to be discovered? What if they had the technology to preserve their culture, or even escape to other worlds, leaving behind only clues to their existence? As we send more rovers and probes to Mars, we inch closer to uncovering these secrets, hoping to find remnants of a civilization that once thrived on a planet now left in ruins. Perhaps one day, humanity will stand on Mars, staring at the ancient landscapes and pondering the possibility that we are not the first civilization to explore the cosmos. Could the Martians have been the ancient pioneers who once walked the surface of the red planet, only to be undone by the very forces that made their world habitable? The story of Mars is a story of rise and fall, a tale of a planet that once held promise, only to be undone by cosmic forces beyond its control. But the search for answers continues. As we study the planet's surface, look for signs of ancient life, and explore the deep mysteries that Mars holds, we are reminded of one simple truth: the universe is vast, and the answers we seek may be hidden just beneath the surface. Mars may have fallen from grace, but its story is far from over. It's a story that continues to intrigue, inspire, and challenge us to rethink what we know about life, civilization, and the forces that shape our worlds. Throughout human history, we have looked up to the stars, marveling at their beauty and mystery. Among the countless celestial bodies, Mars has always held a special place in our collective imagination. The red planet, glowing brightly in the night sky, has inspired countless myths, legends, and stories across cultures. From the ancient Greeks to the civilizations of Mesopotamia, Mars has been a symbol of war, power, and even divine influence. But what if these myths, passed down through generations, are more than just symbolic representations? What if they are echoes of a real Martian past, reflecting the history of a lost civilization or a Martian influence on Earth? One of the most famous mythological connections to Mars is the Roman god of war, also named Mars. In Roman mythology, Mars was not only the god of war, but also a protector of the Roman state, symbolizing strength, power, and determination. He was a figure of great importance, often depicted as a mighty warrior leading the Romans to victory. But why, of all the planets, did the Romans choose to associate war with Mars? Why not Venus, known for its beauty, or Jupiter, the king of the gods? The association with Mars seems to go beyond just the planet's appearance. Could it be that ancient cultures, in their understanding of the cosmos, recognized Mars not just as a distant planet, but as a symbol of an ancient, possibly fallen civilization, one whose rise and fall mirrored the conflicts and struggles of human history? The connection between Mars and the god of war is not unique to the Romans. In Greek mythology, Mars is known as Ares, the god of war, whose chaotic and destructive nature reflected the harsh realities of battle. Ares, like Mars, was both revered and feared, and his presence in Greek mythology speaks to the idea of conflict, destruction, and the consequences of unchecked power. The gods themselves, according to Greek myths, often embodied human traits and failings: jealousy, pride, and the thirst for control. Could it be that these mythological figures were not only reflections of the human experience, but also representations of something much older, something rooted in the ancient past of the cosmos? What if Ares, or Mars, wasn't just a god but a cultural memory, an echo of the planet's past, when it may have been home to a civilization that faced its own rise and fall? much like the civilizations of Earth? Could the stories of gods and wars with their themes of destruction and rebirth have been influenced by the ancient history of Mars itself? The idea that Mars was once a thriving world, full of life and advanced civilizations, is speculative. But could it be that the myths of war and destruction reflect the memory of a real Martian civilization that suffered a cataclysmic event? The idea that Earth's myths are rooted in the forgotten history of Mars is a thought-provoking one. There are also numerous myths and legends from around the world that feature celestial beings or gods descending from the heavens. These deities, often portrayed as visitors from the stars, brought knowledge, technology, or even the gift of life. In Sumerian mythology, the Anunnaki, a group of deities, was said to have come from the heavens, descending to Earth to impart wisdom and teachings to humanity. The Anunnaki were believed to have created civilization, teaching humans agriculture, writing, and building. Could the Anunnaki, as ancient legends suggest, have been Martians or beings from Mars who visited Earth in ancient times? This idea, though speculative, raises intriguing questions about the origins of these gods and their connection to the planet Mars. Similarly, in ancient Egyptian mythology, the god Horus is often depicted as a celestial figure, representing the sky and the stars. The ancient Egyptians, with their advanced knowledge of the stars, built their pyramids with precise alignments to celestial bodies. The alignment of the Great Pyramid of Giza with the stars of Orion's belt is one of the most remarkable feats of ancient engineering. Could the Egyptians have had knowledge of Mars long before modern astronomers turned their telescopes toward the red planet? Could they have viewed Mars not just as a bright object in the sky, but as a world rich in history and significance, a place that once had the conditions to support life? The connection between the pyramids and Mars, though unproven, is a tantalizing idea. The ancient Egyptians may have seen Mars as a symbol of power, much like the god Horus, or perhaps they saw Mars as a distant, lost world, a place where ancient civilizations had once thrived before being lost to time. The connection between Mars and Earth's myths is not just about gods and celestial beings. It also extends to stories of fallen civilizations. Many cultures across the world have myths of ancient advanced civilizations that were destroyed by cosmic events or catastrophic disasters. The most famous of these is the myth of Atlantis, the legendary island civilization described by the ancient Greek philosopher Plato. According to Plato, Atlantis was an advanced society that flourished long before recorded history, only to be destroyed by a great cataclysm, an event so powerful that the entire civilization was lost beneath the waves of the ocean. Could the myth of Atlantis be based on an ancient Martian civilization, one that once thrived on Mars before being wiped out by a planetary catastrophe? The fall of Atlantis, like the fall of Mars, is a story of a once great civilization destroyed by forces beyond its control. But the similarities between the myth of Atlantis and the possible history of Mars are striking. Both involve advanced societies, both suffered sudden and catastrophic destruction, and both left behind only faint traces of their existence. Could the ancient stories of Atlantis be the echoes of a Martian past, passed down through generations, carried across time and space to Earth? As we continue our exploration of Earth's myths and their potential connections to Mars, we encounter more ancient legends and stories that seem to hint at a deep cosmic influence, one that might stretch back to Mars's forgotten past. Could Earth's earliest civilizations have been influenced by Martian visitors, or could the events that transpired on Mars have found their way into our mythology? One of the most striking examples of this potential connection can be found in the creation myths of various cultures. Across the world, many ancient cultures have stories of a time when gods or celestial beings came from the heavens to shape the world and teach humanity. The ancient Greeks, for example, believed in the Olympian gods who resided on Mount Olympus and controlled the forces of nature. These gods, often depicted as powerful and wise, were said to have descended from the sky, bringing knowledge, civilization, and sometimes even destruction. Could these gods, with their divine powers and celestial origins, be based on Martian visitors? Perhaps they were beings from Mars who arrived on Earth, sharing their knowledge and technologies, only to leave once their work was done, leaving behind stories of their greatness in human lore. Similarly, in Hindu mythology, the gods and sages were often described as coming from the heavens, bringing with them advanced knowledge and spiritual teachings. The Vedas, the sacred texts of ancient India, tell of deities who descended from the sky and bestowed wisdom upon humanity. One of the most well-known figures in Hindu mythology, Lord Vishnu, is often depicted as having descended to earth in various forms, known as avatars, to guide humanity through times of darkness and upheaval. Could these divine avatars be a representation of Martian influence, with the gods' knowledge rooted in a lost ancient world? The idea of gods descending from the heavens could very well be a reflection of early human encounters with beings from Mars who imparted wisdom in ways that we, centuries later, still struggle to understand. The ancient Chinese also have a rich tradition of celestial beings and gods descending from the heavens to guide humanity. The myth of the Yellow Emperor, for instance, tells of an emperor who received teachings from a divine being known as the Yellow Dragon. This dragon is said to have come from the stars, offering wisdom to the emperor on matters of governance, medicine, and warfare. The dragon, often considered a symbol of power and cosmic influence in Chinese culture, might not just represent a mythical creature, but could also symbolize extraterrestrial influence, perhaps from Mars, the red dragon in the sky. The idea that Martian beings could have shaped Earth's ancient cultures is a fascinating one, and the presence of celestial otherworldly gods in many myths supports this speculation. In the Americas, particularly in Mesoamerican cultures like the Mayans and the Aztecs, there is also evidence of a deep connection between the heavens and earthly civilization. The Mayans, known for their advanced understanding of astronomy and mathematics, had complex systems for tracking the movements of the stars, planets, and even the distant sun. Could their intricate knowledge of the cosmos have come from an earlier source, such as the Martians? The Mayans believed in the cyclical nature of time, where destruction and rebirth were inevitable. The idea that a great civilization could rise and fall, much like the history of Mars, seems to echo throughout these ancient cultures. The connection between the stars, Mars, and these civilizations is undeniable. Could their astronomical knowledge have been influenced by an advanced civilization from Mars? The cosmic catastrophe that likely marked the end of Mars's habitable era, a sudden shift in climate, perhaps triggered by a planetary collision or an explosive solar event, seems to be a recurring theme in Earth's myths of fallen civilizations. Stories of a great flood, the destruction of cities, or the downfall of once great societies all share striking similarities with the speculations about Mars's demise. The idea of a planetary-scale disaster, one that wipes out an entire civilization, is not only present in the tale of Atlantis, but also in the myths of other cultures. The biblical story of Noah's Ark, for example, tells of a great flood that destroys all life on Earth, except for a chosen few who are saved by an ark. This idea of a cleansing flood, of destruction followed by rebirth, mirrors the possible fate of Mars. Could the flood stories in Earth's mythologies be echoes of the Martian catastrophe, where a once thriving world, full of water and life, was suddenly wiped out by a cosmic event? In the Andes, the ancient Inca civilization spoke of a first world that was destroyed by a great flood, followed by a second world that was also destroyed by fire. These cyclical events of civilization being reborn only to fall again are found in many cultures. Could these stories be based on an ancient knowledge of Mars's own history, its rise and fall, marked by cosmic events that reshaped its environment? The similarities between these stories and the potential fate of Mars raise fascinating questions about the universality of these myths. Could they be based on more than just earthly experiences? Could the memories of Mars's decline, passed down through the generations, have influenced human storytelling? In addition to myths of destruction, there are countless legends of ancient cities and civilizations lost to time, swallowed by the earth or the sea. The legend of Atlantis, the Sumerian myth of the city of Aridi, and the various tales of lost kingdoms all share common themes of knowledge, prosperity, and sudden downfall. These civilizations, said to have been destroyed by divine forces or cosmic events, bear striking similarities to the fate that may have befallen Mars. Could these lost cities be more than just allegorical tales? Could they represent a deeper cosmic memory of a Martian civilization that once thrived only to vanish under catastrophic circumstances? The more we examine Earth's myths and legends, the more we see parallels between the stories of fallen civilizations and the potential history of Mars. The gods, the flood myths, and the tales of lost cities may not just be the product of human imagination. They could be echoes of a Martian past, passed down through generations, carried across time and space from a world now forgotten. The search for life beyond Earth is one of the most profound quests in human history. For centuries, we've gazed at the stars, wondering if we are truly alone in the vast expanse of the universe. Mars, our red neighbor, has been a focal point of this search. Once a planet full of possibilities, Mars is now at the heart of modern space exploration efforts. Could it have hosted life in its distant past? And if so, could evidence of that life still be out there, waiting to be discovered? The quest to uncover Mars's secrets and the broader search for life beyond Earth holds the promise of answers that could change the very nature of humanity's place in the cosmos. The Perseverance rover, which landed on Mars in February 2021, is a key player in this ongoing investigation. Perseverance is not just a robot roaming the surface of Mars. It is a modern-day explorer tasked with the monumental job of searching for signs of ancient life. Equipped with a suite of advanced scientific instruments, Perseverance is on a mission to gather data that could reveal whether life ever existed on Mars. Its goal is to search for microbial life, perhaps once thriving in Mars' ancient rivers, lakes, and deltas. If Perseverance is successful, it may provide the first concrete evidence that life existed on Mars, challenging everything we know about biology, life, and the possibilities of life on other planets. The rover is particularly focused on a region of Mars known as Jezero Crater. This ancient impact crater, once home to a lake and river system billions of years ago, is a prime location for finding signs of past life. By analyzing the rocks and soil in Jezero, Perseverance is looking for organic molecules, complex carbon-based compounds that are the building blocks of life. These molecules could be evidence that Mars once hosted microbes, or even more complex life forms. But the search isn't just about finding fossils or molecules. It's about uncovering the history of Mars itself. Perseverance's journey is one of discovery, revealing clues about how Mars's environment evolved over time and whether it was ever capable of supporting life. In addition to searching for life, Perseverance is also collecting samples from the Martian surface that will be returned to Earth by future missions. These samples could hold the key to understanding the history of Mars in ways that rovers and satellites cannot. By studying the soil and rock samples in labs on Earth, scientists will have the opportunity to conduct experiments that are impossible to carry out on Mars. The hope is that these samples will offer clear evidence of past life, or at the very least, tell us more about the planet's conditions during its wetter, warmer period. This return mission could be one of the most significant achievements in space exploration, offering an unprecedented look at the Martian surface and revealing secrets that have remained hidden for billions of years. But the search for life on Mars is not limited to Perseverance. Mars rovers like Curiosity, Spirit, and Opportunity have all contributed to our understanding of the planet. Each rover has helped scientists piece together the puzzle of Mars's history, how it evolved from a warm, wet world into the cold, dry planet we see today. These rovers have uncovered evidence of ancient riverbeds, lakebeds, and minerals that only form in the presence of water. While none of these missions have found definitive evidence of life, they have provided compelling clues that Mars was once more hospitable than it is now. Curiosity, for example, found signs of ancient lakes and rivers, while Spirit discovered hints of volcanic activity that could have supported life. As these missions continue, they remind us of the vastness of our own universe and the possibilities beyond Earth. The search for life on Mars is not just a quest to find microbes or fossils. It is a search to answer some of humanity's most profound questions. Are we alone? Could life exist elsewhere in the universe? Are the conditions that support life found only on Earth, or are they common throughout the cosmos? Mars is not the only planet being studied in this search for life. Scientists are also turning their attention to moons like Europa, one of Jupiter's satellites, and Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons. These icy worlds are believed to harbor subsurface oceans, and researchers are optimistic that they could be home to microbial life. The discovery of life on Mars would change our understanding of biology and the possibilities for life beyond Earth. But even if life on Mars is not discovered, the search itself will undoubtedly open new frontiers in the field of astrobiology. It will push the boundaries of our knowledge and force us to consider the question of life in new and exciting ways. As the search for life on Mars intensifies, the question of whether we are truly alone in the universe takes on greater significance. While Mars is our closest neighbor in the search for extraterrestrial life, it is not the only focus of modern space exploration. Across the cosmos, there are countless other planets and moons that could harbor the conditions necessary for life. But Mars has always been at the forefront of this search. It's a planet with a history that mirrors Earth in many ways, a world that was once warm and wet, with rivers, lakes, and oceans, much like Earth billions of years ago. And in this shared history lies a profound question. Could Mars have been the first to support life, only for it to vanish long before humanity took its first steps? Mars, in many ways, serves as a cosmic mirror, showing us both the potential for life elsewhere and the fragility of our own existence. As the Perseverance rover continues its search for signs of past microbial life, the question of whether we are the first to explore the stars grows more pressing. If Mars once hosted life, what happened to it? Could a once thriving Martian civilization have disappeared, leaving only the echoes of its past in the planet's desolate landscapes? The possibility that we are not the first to look to the stars adds another layer to the mystery, inviting us to consider the potential for ancient Martians, beings who, like us, once sought to understand the cosmos. While the idea of an ancient Martian civilization remains speculative, there are compelling reasons to consider the possibility. If Mars once had the conditions necessary for life, it could have supported microbial life for millions, if not billions, of years. As we look to Mars today, we see a planet that is cold, barren, and inhospitable, a far cry from the warm, wet world it once was. The question then becomes, what caused this dramatic transformation? Could a catastrophic event, such as an asteroid impact or a massive solar flare, have wiped out life on Mars? Could it have been a gradual process where the planet slowly lost its atmosphere and water, rendering it unable to support life? Mars's current state suggests that life, if it existed, could have struggled to survive the harsh environmental changes. Yet, in its long history, it is possible that life on Mars adapted to the changing conditions. Perhaps Martian microbes found refuge underground, where water could still exist in liquid form, shielded from the harsh conditions on the surface. This idea leads to another compelling question. Could life still exist beneath the surface of Mars today? As NASA's Curiosity rover and Perseverance continue to study the Martian surface, scientists are looking for signs of life that might still persist in underground aquifers, protected from the radiation and extreme temperatures that dominate the surface. In a broader context, the search for life on Mars is part of humanity's growing desire to understand our place in the universe. Are we truly alone, or is the universe teeming with life in forms we cannot yet comprehend? The search for microbial life on Mars is a step toward answering this question, but it also raises other philosophical inquiries. If life was once present on Mars, could it have influenced Earth in some way? Could ancient Martian knowledge or even technology have made its way to Earth, sparking the rise of early civilizations? As we explore the possibility of life on Mars, we also begin to ask, are we the first civilization to explore the cosmos? Or is humanity just the latest in a long line of intelligent beings who have gazed at the stars? The search for life on Mars also challenges our understanding of biology itself. Life on Earth has evolved to thrive in a wide range of environments, from the deepest ocean vents to the harshest deserts. Could life on Mars have evolved in completely different ways, perhaps thriving in the underground ice caps or in deep subterranean pockets of water? Could Martian life have been so different from Earth's life that we would not recognize it as life at all? As we continue to probe Mars for signs of life, we are also forced to reconsider what we understand about biology and the possibilities for life elsewhere in the universe. This is where the search for microbial life on Mars intersects with the broader search for life beyond Earth. The discovery of life on Mars, even in its simplest form, would fundamentally alter our understanding of biology, evolution, and the potential for life on other planets. It would suggest that life is not unique to Earth, that the conditions necessary for life may exist on other planets and moons throughout the solar system. It would open the door to further exploration of planets like Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, where subsurface oceans could harbor microbial life, or Enceladus, one of Saturn's moons, which also has water beneath its icy surface. Mars serves as our entry point into this vast cosmic exploration. While the search for life on Mars is a significant milestone, it is part of a larger effort to answer one of humanity's most enduring questions. Are we alone in the universe? And as we look to the stars, Mars stands as a symbol of what is possible. It is a planet that once held the potential for life, a world that we are only beginning to understand. With each new discovery on Mars, we come closer to unraveling the mysteries of our solar system, and perhaps finding the answers to the questions that have intrigued humanity for millennia. What if Mars, our red neighbor, was once not so different from Earth? What if it was a lush, vibrant world, teeming with life and civilizations that shared a history with us? One that mirrors the rise and fall of humanity. Picture it. A world where rivers flowed, oceans existed, and perhaps even creatures walked the surface. Imagine a time when Martians, just like us, gazed at the stars, built cities, and explored the cosmos. Could it be that Mars was once an Earth-like planet, and in some distant past, its inhabitants shared knowledge, wisdom, or even technology with early humans on Earth? The thought of Mars as a sister world to Earth raises profound possibilities. For centuries, Mars has been viewed as a barren, lifeless planet, a world that perhaps once had life but now exists in an eternal state of desolation. However, this view is based on our understanding of Mars today. What if we were to shift our perspective, considering the possibility that Mars once thrived in a way that mirrors Earth's early history? What if Mars wasn't just a distant world, but a neighbor, one that shared not only our solar system, but perhaps even a history that predates humanity's rise on Earth? Let's imagine a time, billions of years ago, when Mars was a vibrant world. The atmosphere was thick with oxygen, and liquid water flowed freely across its surface. The planet might have supported an advanced civilization, with Martians building cities and developing technologies that rivaled our own. They could have harnessed energy from the planet's abundant resources, creating societies that flourished for millions of years, perhaps even communicating with other worlds in the solar system. But what if this advanced civilization didn't disappear entirely? What if, as Mars underwent its transformation from a habitable world to a cold, desolate desert, some form of Martian civilization managed to survive? Perhaps they retreated underground, where water and a stable environment could still be found, waiting for the day when conditions might change again. What if the Martians were the first explorers of the solar system, traveling to Earth long before humanity evolved? Could they have shared knowledge, technology, or even their way of life with early humans? This idea challenges everything we know about the history of our world. The notion that Martians could have played a role in the rise of humanity and the development of early human civilization is both exciting and mind-boggling. Imagine if early humans weren't the first to discover fire, invent the wheel, or develop agriculture. What if they were guided by knowledge passed down from an ancient interplanetary civilization, one that once called Mars home? Could the Egyptians have been inspired by Martian technologies to build the pyramids? Could the ancient Sumerians, with their advanced knowledge of astronomy and mathematics, have learned from Martians who had been observing the stars for millions of years? Consider the possibility that Earth's first great achievements were not entirely of Earth's making. The rise of ancient civilizations could have been influenced by an outside source, an advanced civilization from Mars, the Great Pyramids of Giza, the complex systems of ancient Mesopotamia, the precise astronomical knowledge of the Mayans. All of these could have been shaped, in part, by the wisdom or technology shared by Martians. What if the stories of gods descending from the heavens were more than just myths? What if they were memories of encounters with Martian visitors who imparted knowledge to humanity? The idea that early humans were not alone in their pursuit of knowledge opens up new avenues of thought, prompting us to reconsider the origins of our greatest achievements. The more we think about this connection between Mars and Earth, the more questions arise. How would the course of human history have been altered if we had evolved alongside Martians? Could we have become partners in exploration and discovery, sharing knowledge and technologies that would have advanced both civilizations? Or perhaps would we have been rivals, two species competing for dominance in the solar system, much like humans and other civilizations on Earth have done throughout history? The possibility that Mars was once a sister world to Earth invites us to reflect on the fragility of life and civilization. If Mars, with its once habitable climate and thriving ecosystems, could fall to ruin, what does that mean for Earth? Are we too vulnerable to the forces that shaped Mars's decline? And more importantly, if Mars once held life, could that life still be present in some form, hidden beneath the planet's surface, waiting to be rediscovered? In this speculative narrative, the fate of Mars is not just the story of a single world's decline. It is a reminder that our own world could one day face similar challenges. The rise and fall of Martian civilization, should it have existed, is a cautionary tale about the dangers of complacency, environmental destruction, and the inevitability of cosmic change. If Mars was once a sister world to Earth, it teaches us that we must cherish and protect the life we have, for we are not immune to the forces that shaped the red planet's downfall. As we continue to imagine a time when Mars was a vibrant, Earth-like planet, we find ourselves contemplating the immense implications of such a connection. What if, in the distant past, Mars and Earth were not just neighboring planets in the same solar system, but sister worlds? Two planets where life began, grew, and evolved side by side. Could the history of humanity, and even the course of our own civilization, have been shaped by a Martian presence, perhaps even a shared ancestry? The idea of Mars as a sister world to Earth leads to a fascinating question. How would history have unfolded if humanity had not been alone in the universe? Imagine a world where early humans, rather than developing entirely on their own, had the benefit of knowledge and wisdom passed down from a more advanced, older civilization. What would it have been like to learn from a species that had lived on Mars for millions of years? One that had seen the rise and fall of their own society and survived the cataclysms that marked their world's transformation. We might envision early human civilization as a product of Martian influence, the technologies and discoveries built on the foundations of knowledge brought from across the stars. The pyramids, Stonehenge, and other ancient wonders of the world might not have been the work of Earth's first peoples alone. Could they have been inspired by Martians who taught early humans how to build, how to measure time, and how to understand the cosmos? In this speculative world, the Martians might have shared their understanding of astronomy, engineering, and even agriculture, helping humanity reach new heights of achievement. However, such a scenario raises other questions. If Martians had once visited Earth, how long ago did this exchange take place? Was it millions of years ago, in a time before recorded history, when early humans had barely begun to evolve? Or did the Martians leave Earth at some point, abandoning their influence on humanity to follow their own path in the cosmos? Could their departure have marked the end of a golden age for humanity, with the loss of this advanced knowledge plunging early humans into darkness until they rediscovered these secrets on their own? This idea of lost knowledge is reflected in the stories passed down through cultures worldwide. Ancient myths and legends often speak of gods descending from the heavens to impart wisdom to humanity. The Sumerians, Egyptians, and other early civilizations spoke of divine beings who descended to Earth, bringing with them the gifts of civilization, agriculture, writing, and astronomy. These stories, passed down through generations, suggest that early humans were not entirely responsible for the rapid advancements in technology and culture. Could these gods, these celestial beings, have been Martians who shared their knowledge with our ancestors? Could their presence on Earth have been more than just mythology, but the memory of a time when Mars was home to an advanced civilization? If we accept this premise, the implications are profound. It suggests that the rise of humanity and the development of our civilization might not be a purely Earth-based phenomenon. Perhaps we were not the first in the solar system to build cities, to explore the stars, or to contemplate the mysteries of life. Mars, once a thriving world, could have been the cradle of an ancient, interplanetary civilization, a civilization that existed long before humanity and may have left its mark on Earth's history in ways we have yet to understand. What if the Martians, in their prime, explored other planets and moons in the solar system, just as we are attempting to do today? Could they have built colonies on Mars' moons, Phobos and Deimos, or even traveled to other worlds in the solar system, leaving traces of their advanced technology behind? Could the ancient stories of celestial gods be based on real encounters between Martians and early humans? These possibilities are speculative, but they open up a fascinating narrative, one where humanity's history is intertwined with that of another, more ancient civilization. The idea that Earth's ancient civilizations were influenced by Martians challenges our understanding of our own origins. If Mars was once a sister world, and the Martians played a role in shaping early human society, then the connection between the two planets is far deeper than we might have imagined. Mars would not just be a distant, cold neighbor in space. It would be a vital part of our shared history, one that has been forgotten, lost, or deliberately hidden over time. As we continue to explore Mars and uncover its secrets, we may one day discover evidence that proves this connection, that Mars was not just a barren wasteland, but a world that once thrived, a world that influenced Earth in ways we are only beginning to understand. Yet, as we explore this speculative possibility, we must also consider the tragic fate of Mars. While Earth's civilizations have grown, evolved, and flourished, Mars has suffered a catastrophic transformation. The very forces that made Mars habitable, the presence of water, a stable climate, and a thick atmosphere, have long since faded. The planet's surface is now frozen, its waters are gone, and its atmosphere is nearly non-existent. The question remains, how did such a promising world, so full of potential, fall from grace? Was the downfall of Mars a cosmic disaster, a slow natural decline, or something more? And if the Martians did once exist, what happened to them? Did they survive the catastrophe, retreating underground, perhaps living in isolated pockets of their dying world? Or did they, like the civilizations on Earth, face extinction in the face of overwhelming forces? The mysteries of Mars are not just scientific, they are deeply philosophical. As we continue to probe the planet's surface and search for signs of life, we are also searching for answers to these age-old questions. Could Mars once have been humanity's sister world, a place where life began alongside us, only to be lost to the ages? The idea is speculative, but it challenges us to rethink our place in the universe. As we bring our journey through the mysteries of Mars and the cosmos to a close, we are left with more questions than answers. The story of Mars, its rise, its fall, and the possibility that life once flourished there challenges us to think deeply about our place in the universe. We've seen how civilizations, both imagined and real, may have once existed on the red planet. We've pondered the possibility that our ancestors may not have been alone in their quest for knowledge and civilization. But in the end, we are reminded of the fragility of all life and the fleeting nature of civilizations, whether on Earth or Mars. Just as the Martians, if they ever existed, may have watched their world slowly fall into ruin, so too do we stand at the crossroads of our own future. The rise and fall of Mars is a cosmic reminder of how even the most thriving civilizations can be swept away by forces beyond their control. Could the ancient Martians have known that their time was running out? Could they have watched as their planet, once a cradle of life, turned into the frozen, barren desert we see today? And as we look to our own world, the same question looms. Are we too vulnerable to the forces that could one day bring an end to our civilization? But rather than feel discouraged by the fragility of life, we should find hope in the knowledge that, like Mars, life can rise again. Whether in the vast reaches of space or on the fertile grounds of Earth, life is resilient. It adapts, it evolves, and it continues to push forward, driven by an innate desire to understand the universe and our place within it. The search for life on Mars and beyond is a testament to humanity's endless curiosity, a curiosity that has propelled us to the stars and will continue to guide us as we venture into the unknown. As we lie beneath the stars, the same stars that have inspired generations before us, we can take comfort in the knowledge that the quest for knowledge is far from over. The mysteries of the universe are vast, and while we may never fully understand them, the pursuit of understanding is what drives us. Each discovery, each piece of the puzzle that we uncover, brings us closer to answering the most profound question of all. Are we truly alone in the cosmos? Could we too one day uncover the secrets of ancient Martian civilizations or discover other worlds teeming with life? But for now, the mysteries of Mars remain just that. Mysteries. And as we drift off into peaceful sleep tonight, we are reminded that the search for answers continues. The story of Mars and the potential that lies within it is just the beginning. We may never fully unravel the secrets of our sister world, but the journey itself is worth the pursuit. And as we rest, we carry with us a sense of wonder, a wonder that will guide us as we continue to explore, to discover, and to dream. For in the quiet moments of reflection, when we look up at the stars, we are reminded of how small we are in the grand tapestry of the universe. Yet, we are also reminded of how much we can achieve, how much we can learn, and how much we can grow. The universe is vast, and while we may not have all the answers, the search for them is what unites us as humans, as explorers, as dreamers. So, as you close your eyes tonight, let the mysteries of Mars and the infinite expanse of space whisper to you. Let them fill your dreams with wonder and leave you with a lingering sense of awe and curiosity, knowing that the search for knowledge is just beginning.